Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. I need a break to find myself. That's what Olivia said to me. She told me she felt a deep need for personal freedom, a real yearning for clarity. Initially, I was willing to believe her. Honestly, I truly wanted to. But then the truth hit me hard. She'd actually been cheating on me, involved with someone she just met online. Right then, I knew I had to take back control of my own life. I'm Mark. I'm 34. And this is the story of how my marriage spectacularly fell apart. Let me give you a little background on who I am. I grew up in America's heartland, a place where people still wave to their neighbors and hard work is really respected. My dad spent over 3 decades at the same manufacturing plant. He'd come home every day with his fingers stained from grease and his eyes heavy with exhaustion. He didn't say much, but his words carried a lot of weight. Mark, he'd often advise, cleaning his hands with that familiar worn red rag. A man only has 2 true possessions in this world: his integrity and his work ethic. Never give up on either. My mom skillfully managed our household of 4 kids, making every one of Dad's paychecks stretch, handling coupons with the precision of a card sharp. We weren't struggling, but anything beyond the bare necessities was rare. So, when we did get something special, even a new coat or an ice cream trip, it felt incredibly significant. I was never a top student, but I had an unshakable dedication. I was always there, always putting in the effort. Football and wrestling came pretty easily to me, and I kept at both sports all through high school. I even got a partial scholarship to a state university, which seemed like a huge achievement. However, after just 2 years, the construction company where I'd worked summers offered me a full-time position with great pay and benefits. My parents weren't happy about my decision to drop out. "You're just abandoning your degree?" my mother asked, her voice laced with disbelief. "I'm choosing immediate work, Mom," I replied. "It's good money, steady work. I can't pass that up." By the time I turned 21, I was actually making more than most college grads. I'd started in construction at 19, putting in really long hours, learning every detail from pouring concrete to managing subcontractors. At 26, I moved up to a site manager role. Then, at 29, I took the biggest risk of my life. I launched my own contracting business. That first year meant a lot of ramen noodles and maybe 3 hours of sleep a night, but I pushed through. By the 3rd year, my company employed 6 people, and we had projects booked 6 months ahead. I built every single part of that business through pure determination, calloused hands, and a spirit that just wouldn't quit. Then Olivia came into my life. We met 8 years ago at my friend David's summer barbecue. She was captivating, smart, confident, a marketing coordinator for a rising tech company. Her bright green eyes would sparkle with passion whenever she talked about her career aspirations. We hit it off right away. "You started your own business without a college degree?" she asked, her eyebrow raised in admiration. "Yep," I smiled. "Just decided to bet on myself." "That's really appealing," she responded, and I swear I felt a profound shift inside me then. Real-world intelligence is much more attractive than a framed diploma on a wall. We dated for 3 years before we got married. It was a small ceremony, about 50 guests. Her idea, though she later complained it didn't have enough Instagram appeal. Those first few months together were genuinely wonderful. We'd come home from our separate jobs, me, covered in dust. Her, still energized from client presentations. Cook meals together, settle onto the sofa, and dive into whatever TV series we were obsessed with that week. And when we weren't eating or watching TV, we were always physically close. We often talked about building something significant together, not just a house or a business, but a shared life. Something truly tangible, a steady foundation for our future. 2 years into our marriage, Olivia got pregnant with our daughter, Lily. It wasn't exactly planned, but when we saw that positive test, we both just grinned like fools. We were certainly nervous, but also incredibly excited. Olivia had always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, at least until our kids started school. I respected that choice completely and supported her without hesitation. My income was enough to cover all the household expenses by then, and we lived comfortably in the 3-bedroom house I'd bought before we even got married, using the down payment I'd saved from weekend house flipping projects. That specific detail is worth remembering. Olivia's pregnancy was tough. Morning sickness relentlessly bothered her. Her ankles were often swollen, and her moods swung unpredictably. I never complained. I did what any devoted husband would. I stepped up. I took over all the cooking, arranged for a cleaning service to come twice a month, and made late-night runs for pickle juice and chocolate ice cream whenever sudden cravings hit. "Mark, could you please get me chocolate ice cream with sprinkles, and the really salty kind of pickle juice?" she'd ask one evening, her voice hoarse but determined. "Pickle juice and chocolate?" I chuckled, already reaching for my car keys. "You're lucky I love you this much." I even personally transformed the 2nd bedroom into a nursery, painting the walls that soft, buttery yellow she wanted and meticulously putting together every piece of baby furniture. Crib, changing table, rocking chair, by hand. No cutting corners. After Lily's birth, Olivia really struggled. There was joy, but also a deeper sadness. Postpartum depression, they explained. Hormones can be incredibly harsh. I understood. I immediately took 3 weeks off work. That was immensely challenging for a small business owner, but I never hesitated. Family always comes first. I handled night feedings, diaper changes, and rocked Lily to sleep so Olivia could rest. At the same time, I was keeping an eye on job sites and doing everything I could to stop my business from collapsing. I barely slept for weeks, but I pushed through. When I finally went back to work full-time, I hired a part-time mother's helper, someone to come 3 days a week so Olivia could nap, shower, and just breathe. I was honestly doing everything in my power, and then some. But as Lily grew, our expenses grew too. So, I started taking on more clients, working 12-hour days, sometimes even on weekends. I even shifted to more custom home construction projects. They were more demanding but more profitable. I really wanted to give Olivia the life she envisioned. Still, her attention was glued to her phone, constantly comparing herself to her college friends, wives of lawyers, executives, trust fund beneficiaries, who posted pictures from exotic places like Bali, Paris, and the Amalfi Coast, taking luxury vacations twice a year, buying designer clothes, and getting spa treatments. I'd see that look on her face. "That must be lovely," she'd sometimes murmur, scrolling through her feed. I just kept my head down and worked even harder. I truly believed I was building a good life for us, a genuinely decent existence. We weren't living lavishly, but we had a stable home in a great neighborhood, 2 reliable cars, and Olivia never had to check the bank balance before buying anything for herself or Lily. I genuinely thought we were on the same page. Then came that Tuesday in November. I remember it clearly because our first snowfall happened that morning. The air was biting, and the ground was slippery. I stayed an extra hour at the site, making sure the newly poured foundation was properly insulated and protected. That kind of cold could ruin everything if you weren't careful. Afterward, I had to sort out an issue with the supplier who'd messed up the fixtures for the Jenkins job. They'd sent the wrong finishes and sizes. That took another hour. By the time I finally walked into our front door, it was past 7 in the evening. I'd been working since 5 that morning. I stepped inside, my boots covered in dirt and concrete dust, my shoulders aching from that grueling 12-hour shift. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the entrance and looked up to find Olivia sitting at the kitchen island, staring at her phone. She barely even acknowledged I was there. Lily, my beautiful little girl, now 15 months old, was buckled into her high chair, her mom's sharp green eyes sparkling above cheeks dusted with crushed Cheerios. Her dark hair, just like mine, curled softly at the ends, and the tray in front of her looked like a battlefield. She must have been there for quite a while. "Hey honey, sorry I'm so late," I offered, already moving toward Lily. The supplier messed up again. I knelt down and started to pick her up. Lily shrieked with delight, reaching for me with sticky fingers, her face lighting up the moment I cradled her. Her tiny hands immediately grabbed my beard, giggling as if I were the most wonderful sight she'd seen all day. Then Olivia spoke, her voice completely flat, her eyes still on the screen. "I need a sabbatical to rediscover myself." I blinked. "What?" I asked, turning my head to her as I shifted Lily onto my hip. "Motherhood has completely stripped away my identity," she stated, finally raising her gaze from her phone. I stood there in my work boots, still covered in the day's grime, holding our happy toddler. This little person who was now everything good in my world, trying to tug my beard with sticky hands. My mind struggled to process Olivia's declaration. "What do you mean, a break? Like a vacation? You know I can take some time off next month once the Campbell project is finished. We can go somewhere, just the 2 of us." She remained expressionless. "No, Mark, a separation from us." My stomach clenched. "A separation from us? I'm not happy anymore," she continued, now standing, arms crossed as if ready for a fight. "You don't meet my emotional needs. I feel trapped as just Mark's wife or Lily's mom. I need to be alone to figure out who I really am." I just stared at her. This pronouncement came from the same woman who hadn't worked in 2 years, the one who enjoyed a weekly spa day at my expense, who had a cleaning service twice a month, who had a mother's helper in the house 3 days a week. I was working 60 to 70 hours a week to provide the life she claimed she wanted. And now I was the problem? "Is there someone else?" I blurted out before I could stop myself. Her eyes darted to her phone for just a split second, but that fleeting moment was all I needed. "Don't be ridiculous," she retorted, standing taller, as if personally offended by the suggestion. "This male assumption that I must be cheating just because I need personal space is exactly the problem. This is why I feel stifled. You don't understand emotional labor or a mother's mental burden." She wasn't yelling, but each word landed like a punch. I took a slow breath and gently bounced Lily in my arms. She was starting to feel the tension, her giggles fading into uncertainty. All right, I conceded cautiously. Let's talk about this. What does this break mean for you? Where would you go? What about Lily? Olivia rolled her eyes, as if I were a child failing to grasp something obvious, completely missing the point. I don't know yet, Mark. That's exactly why I need room to think. Goodness, you always need everything explicitly defined, like a legal document. Her words cut sharply. I stood there, still holding Lily, astonished and unsure how to proceed. It wasn't the right moment for an argument, not with our daughter in my arms. So I didn't push it. 2 days unfolded in this strange, silent standoff. Olivia spoke to me very little, no longer bothering to help with Lily in the mornings. Too tired, she'd mumble from under the covers. So, I started setting my alarm even earlier, managing the morning routine by myself. Diaper change, breakfast, dressing her before leaving. I began dropping Lily off at my mother's house on my way to the site. Mom was more than thrilled to care for her granddaughter. And frankly, it was a relief knowing Lily was with someone who truly cared. Each evening when I came home, Olivia was leaving for a girls' night, a yoga session, or some vague self-care activity. I didn't ask questions. I just kept mental notes. Then, on the third day during my lunch break, my phone vibrated. It was a text from my friend, Ben. Dude, call me immediately. It's about Sarah. A cold dread settled in my stomach. I walked off the construction site and climbed into my truck, my fingers already dialing before I could reconsider. Ben, what's going on? He sounded hesitant. Look, man, I didn't want to get involved. This isn't my business. But this just isn't right. Just tell me, man. Okay, Tara, my girlfriend, she's part of this online gaming community with Olivia, some role-playing setup, a Discord server. They've been active there for a while now. I sat frozen. I had no idea Olivia was involved in anything like that. Tara's been watching Olivia overshare extensively about your marriage for weeks, he continued, his voice hushed. My stomach churned. Oversharing? What do you mean? She's been complaining bitterly about you, saying you're emotionally unavailable, that you don't meet her needs, that your only focus is work, and that you haven't had a meaningful conversation in months. I swallowed hard. My mind replayed the evenings I tried to discuss Lily, the house, our future, and received only aha or silence in return while her gaze stayed fixed on her phone. And there's this guy in the group, Ben continued, who calls himself Leo. I held my breath. Tara says Olivia has been private messaging him constantly, staying up until 3 in the morning talking to this guy. That explained Olivia's sudden morning fatigue. I clutched the phone tighter. Has Tara seen their private conversations? I asked, already expecting a bad answer. Ben hesitated. Not all of them, but enough. I waited. She said Olivia was boasting in the group chat yesterday, telling everyone how she dropped that "I need a break" line on you, and how you just accepted it like some kind of emotionless robot. He paused. Claimed she always knew that about you. I felt my jaw tighten. And, Ben added, she mentioned that Leo actually pays attention to her. I said little after that, just thanked Ben for the information and ended the call. Then I sat in my truck for a full 20 minutes, just staring through the windshield at the job site's dirt and gravel, my coffee getting cold in the cup holder. The pieces were fitting together. Click, click, click. The sudden demand for personal space. The frequent girls' nights that had no actual female companions. The incessant texting. Her habit of taking her phone into the bathroom like it was a lifeline. That night, Olivia was in the shower again, her new routine of hour-long showers with the door locked, the Bluetooth speaker blasting some indie playlist, and, most tellingly, her phone always tightly clutched. I did something I never thought I would do. I accessed her Discord. Her laptop was sitting on the kitchen counter, illuminated and logged in. She hadn't even bothered to close it. My hands trembled as I sat down and navigated through the interface. What I found made me physically ill. There they were, she and Leo, the unemployed 29-year-old philosopher-poet from Oregon. Dozens upon dozens of messages, explicit messages, photos, videos, content I didn't know existed. She told him how intellectually stimulating he was compared to me. I was just a construction worker. Apparently, a blue-collar brute capable only of swinging a hammer. Despite running a business that employed 6 people and supported our entire lifestyle. She said she felt truly seen by Leo, genuinely, after only a few weeks of online interaction. And there were the criticisms, sharp and detailed, about our intimate life. She wrote about my supposed desire for only physical connection with no emotional intimacy. As if the countless evenings I tried to hold her, talk to her, express my love, meant nothing, as if she hadn't repeatedly pushed me away. She openly ridiculed me, revealed confidential information I had shared with her, things I'd never told anyone. My insecurities, my anxieties, my body. The most disturbing part, from what I could tell, this guy, her supposed savior, was jobless, living in his mother's basement in Oregon, and had never had a real relationship. But he was a free spirit, which apparently made him superior to me. He would recite poetry, long, dramatic monologues about the moon, destiny, and yearning, and Olivia would gush over every line as if he were the next Shakespeare. They were already making plans for her to visit him. She was, in fact, discussing in precise detail the potential amount of child support and alimony she could get from me. Enough to start a new life with him. There was even talk about Lily, how she would adapt once everything was settled. I didn't make a sound. I took screenshots of everything, every repulsive word. I emailed them to myself. Then I closed the laptop exactly as I had found it. I felt hollow, like my insides had been scooped out with a rusty spoon, leaving only an aching void. When Olivia finally came out of the bathroom, wrapped in the luxurious robe I'd given her for Christmas, her phone clutched like it was part of her. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. I looked up at her. The words just came out before I could stop myself. So, who is Leo? My voice remained steady. I was actually surprised by how calm it was. She froze. Her face went through about 5 expressions in 2 seconds. Shock, terror, indignation, calculation, and finally, outrage. You went through my private conversations? She shrieked, recoiling as if I had hit her, pressing the phone to her chest as if I were about to snatch it from her. How dare you violate my privacy like that? I stood up slowly, not raising my voice. Your laptop was open, Olivia. It wasn't exactly Fort Knox. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Answer the question. Who is Leo? And why are you planning to move my daughter across the country to live with him? Her eyes flickered away. It's not like that, she muttered. He's just a friend. Someone who actually listens to me. Unlike you. I clenched my fists at my sides. A friend who exchanges explicit photos? With whom you discuss future custody arrangements? I shook my head. Unbelievable. She squared her shoulders, suddenly defiant. If you had met my emotional needs, I wouldn't have looked for connection elsewhere. This is your fault. That hit me like a physical blow. I stared at her in disbelief. You're actually going to try that? To put the blame on me? She folded her arms. You never understand. You never truly listen to me. I let out a bitter laugh. Let me remind you, Olivia, who pays for that phone you're holding onto. The internet you used to flirt with Leo, the roof over your head, the food in the refrigerator, the weekly spa visits, and the house cleaner that comes 3 times a week so you can relax while I work my butt off to maintain this lifestyle? Her eyes narrowed. Oh, so now you're going to resort to financial abuse? She snapped. You're throwing it in my face that you earn all the money? I blinked. That wasn't what I said. That's exactly what you're doing, she hissed. And that's why I need someone like Leo. He values me for myself, not as some damn trophy wife. I nearly laughed. I couldn't help it. Trophy wife. I looked at her, not with judgment, but with pure disbelief. Olivia, when was the last time you even got dressed up for me? Put on makeup? Or even offered a smile when I came home after a 12-hour workday? Her jaw tightened. I'm going to ask you one last time, I stated, my voice even, despite every nerve screaming inside me. Are you having an affair with this man? Emotional or otherwise? She rolled her eyes as if I were a child. You can't have an affair with someone you've never met in person, she articulated slowly, like explaining simple math to a toddler. And even if I was, it would be because your emotional neglect forced me to. There it was, the implicit admission, the shifting of blame. I felt something inside me click, firmly into place. Any hope I had for us to reconcile vanished in that instant. I'll be staying in the guest room until we sort this out, I announced, turning to leave the bedroom. Fine, she retorted. Run away from the conversation, just like you always do. As I left, she called after me, her voice shrill and defiant. This is exactly why our marriage is falling apart. I didn't engage. I didn't even slow down. I just closed the guest room door behind me, sat on the bed, and stared at the ceiling, as if it might hold some answer. My mind reeled, replaying the last few months over and over. How could I have missed the signs? Was I really that blind? Or was Olivia just making up our entire history to justify her current situation? No, I knew who I was. I knew the sacrifices I'd made for this family. One truth became crystal clear through all the mental static. I wasn't going to be taken advantage of. If Olivia wanted a break to explore possibilities with Shakespeare, the basement-dwelling soulmate, she could have it, but not on her terms. Thanks for listening. This story isn't over yet, and things are about to get even more intense. Stay tuned for the next part to see what happens next.